Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another session of Teams in 20. I'm really excited for this one. I'm always excited, but I'm really excited for this one because this is about adoption and change management, which is something really close to every customer success manager's heart. Without further ado, let me introduce you to today's speaker, and that is our awesome Betty. I'm going to try and say your surname right. Simonova, have I got that? Hopefully I tried.
That'll do. Thanks, Jo.
Brilliant. So Betty is going to give us a bit of an introduction into adoption change management. She's got a great way of storytelling this. So without further ado, I'm going to hand straight over to you, Betty, because I know time is important today.
It is, exactly. So I'm actually going to set myself a little timer because, as you said, I love talking about this stuff and I can probably talk about it for 2 hours, but I won't. So I will share my slides and just give me a thumbs up once that's come through.
All good.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Betty. And as Jo said, today we'll talk about what makes people want to make a change. I'll give a quick introduction, we'll cover a little bit of science, and I'll go through a real life example of my own personal life using some of our change management methodologies. So let's get straight into it. I'd like to start with talking about the term tech intensity because we're all here today because in some way we are driving digital change in our organizations. So our awesome CEO, Satya Nadella, he said tech intensity is equals an organization's rate of technology adoption along with its ability to build its own digital capability. So we'll go into this a bit more in a sec. So what tech intensity, he gave us an equation and is a blueprint for how to evolve and succeed in the next decade of innovation. And it's my favorite equation because it has adoption in it. We have tech adoption multiplied by tech capability powered by trust. This is the blueprint for how to evolve and succeed in the next decade of innovation. It is all about how people choose to react and evolve and is going to make a difference when it comes down to these three things. First, it's how we adopt the latest technology and integrate it into an organization or even our personal lives. And second, it's how we build our own unique digital capability. All organizations will need a culture where all people are part of the innovation process and are able to learn, play, and innovate with it. And finally, we have trust. So for this equation to work, both trust in technology and trust in the business model need to be established. And today we will focus a lot on the importance of adoption and how it is people who are so key in the tech intensity equation. So what is adoption? So change management is our methodology for driving change and getting to the state where we're adopting something new. But what really is adoption? It's where someone makes an individual choice to make a change. It's deep habitual usage that delivers a tangible value to a person and or the organization. So I've given myself a speech bubble because you know you've reached a good level of adoption when you can say, I understand why, I have decided to, I know how to, I am able to, and I am going to continue to. So in this sentence, insert the change that you're trying to make, and this can be a little test whether you have reached that level of adoption. It is people that need to make a change. If we want our people to jump straight into a change, we need to support them and remember that they are what is going to make our projects successful. It is all about the people. So as promised, a little bit of science and a little bit of theory. So you may have heard of the golden circle, which Simon Sinek coined and he talks about a lot. And he says that every person and organization operates on 3 levels: the why, the how, and the what. So the why is our purpose, it's our causal belief that drives everything that we do. The why is in the middle. Then it's the how, is the actions we take to bring our why to life. And then it's the what, is the work that you do of your why. So why, how, and the what. Interestingly enough, this corresponds to our brains, to our human biology. So here is a lovely picture of a brain. And I've used nicer, easier words to deal with, as I'm definitely not very good with the science part. So we'll just use the term emotional brain. So our emotional brains drive our instincts and feelings, and they mirror our why and the how. So when we're trying to create a change and appeal to somebody, we need to be engaging the emotional brain to mirror the why and the how. And then there's the thinking brain, which handles the language, the logic, and the mirrors our what. So we need all three levels to appeal to both logic and emotions. So when we're creating any kind of change management campaigns, we're sending out comms, anything that we do that we to drive the change, we need to appeal to these three things. And it's really interesting. So you might have heard the saying, a lot people don't like change. And that is because our brains are wired to protect us. Our brains don't like change. Our brains' main role is focused on minimizing threats and maximizing rewards. Now, minimizing a threat is a much more effective motivator, and any change is a threat. It's perceived as a threat by our brains. So if we're scared to try something new, we're likely to just never try it. So to ensure that there are no surprises, the brain keeps us safe, it secures the future a lot of the times by learning from the past. So if in the past you maybe tried to do a math equation and you couldn't do it, the next time you try to solve a similar equation, you might already think you can't do it before you've even tried it again. So we don't appreciate these invisible dynamics continuously that take place inside of our brains. We're not able to fully appreciate what the art of the change process has to offer. It is a science. It is not the fluffy stuff, as we're often told that it is. Our brains run on autopilot mode, made by creating habits to preserve energy. And this is really interesting. Any learning activity costs our brain at least 25% more energy than a task it can do on autopilot mode. So when we're asking people to make any kind of change, it is more stressful and it takes more energy. So why would they want to do it? Try brushing your teeth with the opposite hand and you'll see how much harder it is and that you actually have to think about it. So we cannot make any sustainable changes without changing the way our brains work. So to change our habits, we need to replace them with new ones by consciously and repetitively engaging our thinking brain in the creation of these new habits to create these new autopilot behaviors. Going back to the definition of what is adoption, habitual usage of something, it all links together. It's just trying to create these autopilot routines for us to make life easy. So having said all of this, there's so much going on. We're driving change. It can be stressful. We need to appeal to the emotional brain, to the thinking brain. How do we do that? Well, lucky for us, Prosci, stands for Professional Science, have come up with the golden blueprint for building a successful change, and they've called it ADKAR. So you may have heard of this. Awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, reinforcement. Most of us change managers have probably heard of ADKAR, but it is so key and we shouldn't forget it. If any of our projects rely on people making any kind of change in their daily lives, then think ADKAR, think of this model, and let's go through it. So picture of me playing cricket. Well, my sports career kind of peaked and met its end at university, but it did teach me some really important lessons. So I'll give the ADKAR analogy with my own personal example. So if we start with awareness, always start with a why. When you're driving change, why is the change needed? What problem are you solving? Why now? What's the risk of not changing? And when you're sending out these messages, you also need to establish trust and credibility. Sometimes the changes we ask people to make are intended to solve problems that they may not see as a problem. So people may not feel like the reasons why are valid or compelling enough to make a difference. And this is why also the way we deliver that why and the reason for the change is so important. So I knew my why for playing cricket. I wanted to get fitter. I wanted to make new friends. But if somebody just said to me, oh, you should go in the cricket team because, I don't know, it will be fun and you'll learn a lot about cricket, I might have gone, no thanks. But I had my own why and I knew why I wanted to join the cricket team. Therefore, I did. So awareness ticked. The next stage is desire. What's in it for me? Consider everybody's individual situations. And I know in large organizations that can be hard to do, but at least come up with some sort of grouping to make this achievable to an extent. The what's in it for me is really important. What motivates people? Is it intrinsic? Is it extrinsic motivators? So in order for someone to change the way they do things, they need to want to make that change themselves. Otherwise, they're not going to do anything about it. So for me, playing cricket, as I said, was about making new friends, was becoming fitter. These were my biggest motivators, and I knew them and I believed in them. Therefore, I went and signed up to play cricket. And desire appears to our emotional brains. It's a really important step of the process. This one isn't natively in the ADKAR model, but I like to throw it in because switching cost is a real thing. Something to bear in mind. There's often costs associated with making changes. So when I was playing cricket, I had the bat. That was a gift. I was really comfortable with it. I was doing well. I was performing well. I knew how to hold it. It felt like an extension of me when I was playing the sport. If somebody just came and said to me, hey, here's a new bat, it will cost you £600. You will be so much better. Your game will perform. You'll score more runs. But then I'll be, why would I want to do that? I'm already really happy with what I already have. This new one's going to cost me more money. It's going to take time and effort to adjust to it and to play with it. So I'm always going to be weighing up the switching costs. Is it worth it for me to make this switch? Is it a compelling enough reason? So also when we're asking people to change, we need to be empathetic to this process that's going through their brains going, is this going to be worth it for me? What am I going to have to sacrifice? And what is going to be the cost to me? Then we move on to knowledge. Do you need to provide training? Do people have the right skills? The number one sort of pitfall that we observe is people skip the ADKAR process. It's sequential and go to knowledge first. And the first thing is, right, let's just offer some training and then people will just start using it. That is not the case. For example, in order for our cricket team to do well, our coaches organize training 3 times a week, sometimes more. And when we had a match coming up or an important game, we practiced more and there was more training put on for us to help us prepare. So in our work settings, we can consider, do people already have the knowledge and the right skills to adopt the new technology or to do a task in a new way? If so, put a plan together, ensure people have the chance to acquire the right set of skills. So knowledge and the training is a really important aspect, but it is sequential, and awareness and desire need to be in place for them to want to do the training. It's really important we do it in the right order. Oh, and then there's the gif of me trying to get better. And then second to last, we have ability. Do the people that need to make a change have the ability to perform a task or perform in a new way? Just because I have the knowledge, just because in theory I know how to do something, doesn't mean I actually have the ability. I've observed people playing golf on TV. I cannot play golf. So knowledge and ability, 2 different things. In our cricket team, our captain would be constantly evaluating our performance, if we're progressing, if we're doing well. If we are, or we stay in the main team, we get to play the big games. But if our performance isn't progressing, perhaps we need to revisit one of the steps before. Do we need more reasons to be playing? Are we losing interest? Is it more training that we need? What's causing that drop in performance? Same thing in our world, right? If we are seeing a drop in adoption, a drop in usage, people aren't as interested anymore. What is the reason for that? Go back, revisit the ADKAR model, and we maybe need to repeat some of the steps that we have already done. And then lastly, we have reinforcement. What are the rewards for people adapting to the new change? It's really important to reinforce and reward people for adapting to change. And as I mentioned earlier, our brains like to minimize threats and maximize rewards. So don't forget to celebrate success and rewards and build it into the project plans and leave enough time at the end for that success. So the biggest reward for myself, and no doubt the whole team, was winning our indoor varsity tournament. because at that point, all of our training, hard work, building new habits, it all paid off. So in our world, this could be rewards, promotions, gifts. And we love to be creative with our customers, have ideation sessions, hackathons. What can we do with the resources that we have to make sure people are celebrated, and we celebrate all the hard work that we've done as a team. So reinforcement is really, really key. And then I know we're almost at time. I think I've got about 1 minute left. So I just wanted to end on one of my favorite images, which is what we often see in business plans and projects and budgets. There's a lot of money, time and effort put aside for project management, for the technical aspects, and very little is put aside for the change management, which results in the less than ideal state. And come back to the tech intensity question, we need everything in place to reach that future state that we're going to. So if you ask yourself, does our project depend on our people to change their behaviors to succeed? Then make sure that is reflected in the project plans, budgets, and resources as much as possible. And then lastly, in our slides, I have some resources, which I'm sure Joe will send out, links to Microsoft 365 adoption site, plenty of great content resources, link to Prosci, global leader in change management, and you've got our, your CSM, so ask us for help and anything you need.
Thanks, Betty. That was absolutely fantastic. I love the way you bring that story to life. So,
thanks, Joe.
I know it's. If you like that session, if you want more of that, tell us what you want. Fill in the survey. We'd really love to get your ideas and thoughts about what would really help you in your day-to-day work. We've got some more sessions coming up. We're still thinking of some ideas, so those surveys are really important to us. Next week, we've got the latest productivity hacks. We've got tons of them. We could do that every week, but we're going to share a few with you next week. There's going to be no session on the 5th of July, and I'm going to try and make sure everybody is aware of that, but no session on the 5th. I will take that out of the calendar. And then we're going to do an introduction to OneNote. Lots of people have asked us about that. And then Daria, who is taking over from Zane, if you've seen Zane on our calls before, she's going to be doing a session on introduction to Loop. And then we're going to come up with some more great content for you, but it's coming soon. So thank you so much for spending your lunch with us today. Hope to see you again next week. And have a lovely day. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Betty.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.